You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/builtforus to get started.
Precisa ferir a pressão, medir a glicemia ou tomar uma vacina? Na Drogasil tem exames, testes e calendário vacinal completo. E o que é melhor, tem sempre uma Drogasil aí perto de você. É fácil, prático e rápido. Dá para ir entre uma música e outra. Procure nossos farmacêuticos. Quanto mais você conhece o que a gente faz na Drogasil, mais você se cuida.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us, 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Emilio in Tennessee. Jacob had to bounce out. He had some business to take care of over at Brookview Meadows. Tim is still in isolation, parts unknown. But, Emilio, how are you doing today, bro?
Yeah, no, I think Jacob shoots for something over
65%.
65%. That's what we.
But yeah, toasty one. We were just talking about it, but hopefully we're past it. Can't wait, man. The season is just inching closer. Tomorrow's going to be a week away. It's here, man.
Yeah, we made it, man. No doubt about it. It's great too because the pressers are cranking up. We're going to hear from Jeff Hafley, which his press conference just lit Packers Twitter on fire. Unbelievable. Love that dude. Excited to see what he can do. And here's the thing too. I'm somewhat curbing the enthusiasm. I know many people think this defense is just going to turn into a top 3, top 5 defense. I want to give a little grace because every time that you switch to a new defensive coordinator, typically there's some setbacks, right? Like it's going to take a little bit of time to get your feet under you. I hope he puts all that to bed. Don't get me wrong, but I also don't want it to be something where we're 3 games into the season and the numbers are looking worse than what they were last year, and all of a sudden everybody hates her. About said Joe Barry hates Jeff Hafley. That was it just rolls off the tongue. But I'll tell you what else rolls off the tongue. So we had some news come down the pike here real quick. We don't like to talk about other teams other than the Packers on this show, but when contracts break, we just want to hit on them briefly. I don't know if you've seen Emilio, but Brandon Ayuk finally inked the new deal here. As Ian Rappaport tweeted out, the 49ers are giving Brandon Ayuk $76 million in guaranteed in his 4-year, $120 million front-loaded deal. So very interesting. They still don't have Trent Williams in camp just yet. However, it looks like Brandon Ayuk's going to be there for the foreseeable future. Just get your initial thoughts on that because it's again, everything comes back to how does it comp to the Packers, and obviously the Packers got one of the cheapest wide receiver rooms in the league. This right here, I think I don't know, man. I don't know how it's going to affect the Niners. Brandon Ayuk's a great player. I just don't know, man. Him and Debo are deployed different, but he's definitely more of the receiver on the team. That's a fact.
Right. No, and I think that's why they needed him. But the fact of when I was listening to Michael, he was, Lombardi, he was talking about how do we think he's better than DJ Moore? Do we think that he's better than I forgot who else, AJ Brown? So
CeeDee Lamb too.
Right. So where are you at money wise compared to those guys, and how are you going to keep moving forward? Because I think it was them or another podcast, they were talking about how are we going to keep an NFL team together if we're paying left tackles this kind of money, if we're paying quarterbacks that kind of money, and then we're also going to be kicking it to wide receivers. You're going to have cheap running backs. You're going to have cheap things here and there. The defense is going to have to be cheap. So I think at some point it's going to balloon, right, where it gets kind of out of hand and we have to go back down to normal. Congrats to him. Happy he got it done now. Sitting in. But it's, it's a rival. So good for him, but we got to keep moving.
Yeah, they say receiver, and this is Bill Walsh 101. Ironically, Brandon Ayuk gets a huge deal in San Francisco. They say receiver is the last position to put in place. It's the last piece of the puzzle to put in place. And it's hard to argue that the 49ers aren't already put together. They do. They have a solid football team. Obviously, they knocked the Packers out last year. And they're a team that's built really well in the trenches. Bosa up front. Obviously, you got Trent Williams if he's going to play for him this year, and I'm sure he will. On the opposite side, so you're built pretty well in the trenches. You got a quarterback that protects the football. He plays within the system. He plays on time. He plays with rhythm. You've got a good running game with obviously Christian McCaffrey, and then of course you got Deebo Samuel as kind of your trick pony. He can play out of the slot. He can flex in the backfield, cause some mismatches, that type of thing. So. That's kind of what we're looking at here. So,
but that's it. That's the problem is you're gonna have to keep paying everybody. I mean, you just paid wide receiver. Now you got to pay left tackle just to show up. That's an issue after you just paid Christian.
Yeah, and that's why it's important. Like Michael Lombardi was talking about. I know you heard the same podcast when he's talking about modeling your roster, modeling out. Okay, how are we going to build our roster? What's the blueprint look like? And it's important not to deviate too far from that blueprint. But anyway, that's enough 49ers talk. Just wanted to hit on it because anytime a wide receiver or any other position for that matter kind of puts a pretty large number into the market, it's important. It's another checkpoint, if you will, another marker, I guess you could say. So in other news with the Packers, obviously Clay Matthews and Aaron Campman going into the Packers Hall of Fame today. This was from Matt Schneider. It said Clay Matthews sporting his Super Bowl ring while shouting out his presenter for the Packers Hall of Fame, former longtime Packers DC Dom Capers. So Dom Capers is the one who's presenting Clay Matthews Jr.
That's awesome.
I think Dom Capers got a bad rap there toward the end, man. Me personally, I think he's a great coach, been a great coach in the league for a long time. Just a solid defensive coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And, congratulations to Clay, man. He deserved it, but he wouldn't have been there if the Packers didn't give him the opportunity, if he didn't have the coaches he had. So, that's awesome. Like I said, I wasn't ever able to get into the Hall of Fame when I was there for that one game. I went to the 1919. I got some curds, and I peeled out of there. So I'm going to have to do that when we go up for the draft.
Yeah, they've got it set up real nice. A lot of really cool old memorabilia. Just really, really, really awesome. And just to give everybody a heads up, it's going to be kind of a short show tonight. We're going to try to go as long as we can. Emilio's got plans. I've got stuff I got to take care of as well. So we'll just to let y'all know, probably won't be a double episode tonight. We'll try to get through one here if we got time. I've got people blowing my phone up right now. But, yeah.
Busy man.
Other news for the Packers. Paul Brettel tweeted out, Packers announced that they signed Brown to the practice squad. This is Omar Brown, defensive back from Nebraska. Do you remember that, Emilio? 6'1", 200 pounds. Yeah. Talk to me, man. We mocked him a couple times, didn't we?
All I saw was all I remember was once we hit the 5th or 6th round, Jacob was like, all right, I need Dallas Gant and I need Omar Brown. All right, Tim, where are you putting Omar? And we liked him, though. We really did after breaking down some of his numbers. He played well, played physical, played at Nebraska, hardworking kind of guy. And like Fred McFarley was saying here, Brown as a first year was a top 30 visit for Green Bay pre-draft. I think that we did have him in a different color right on the board. So another safety to just keep your eye on. Maybe it's for special teams. Maybe it's because, we're leaning a different way, but I'm totally fine with having an open spot and filling it with some new young guys.
Definitely, man. And Omar, for those of you who don't remember, he was actually on the consensus big board at 328. He peaked at 189. So obviously he was down towards the bottom. He was definitely on the bottom of my board as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I remember Storm Duck too. Yep.
So obviously you're going to add him to the practice squad. We'll see how that goes. Emilio, if I have to step away and take a call, can you handle the chat for a few minutes and just kind of chat with everybody here? Post it up.
Sure.
Can you,
we'll give it a shot.
If it's a train wreck, it's a train wreck.
I'll just end the stream right then.
But you may have to take over here in a second. Here's a couple of Patreon questions I want to hit on. Jordan Taylor in our Patreon group said, with the signing of Malik Willis, I'm guessing Clifford will be called up from the practice squad to back up Love for a couple of weeks. With that said, does Willis provide significant value in practice running scout team for quarterback prep for Hurts, Richardson, Caleb Dubb, Kyler, etc.? It seems that an aggressive front could result in, quote, over pursuing the quarterback and allowing for big runs if not properly contained, etc. Amelia, I'm going to let you handle that one. And you hit this next question here. get your take on it, then lean on the chat. I'm going to take this call real quick. I'll be right back, bro.
You got it.
You got this, man.
So, all right. So Jordan Taylor, let's see. With the signing of Malik, I definitely think that Clifford is going to be coming up from the practice squad to be the backup. Like we said, he's been there for a year. So why wouldn't we have, Clifford running the offense and, being behind Love to be his helping hand. Really, we need that. So, and for preparation for Hurts, I think we talked about that the other night. Malik can, run, he can pass. I think it's a perfect fit RPO. But I mean, I kind of only caught a couple of minutes of that Hafley interview. I think we might hit some of it later. But when you're looking at the Eagles' offense, how far are you going to look ahead? How far are you going to look back? What are they going to do? Being the same as last year, things like that. So, I think we got a good setup here, man. We have Love. We'll move forward with Clifford for now, and then when Malik's ready, he'll take over. And then we have Dave Colvin here. He asks that watch the Ravens game over again, mostly, and watching Hopper was fun. Watching that guy trigger on runs, the one, I don't even know how he read that fast and knew it was a run. He is very explosive. I do believe that, Dave. He says, was in the second quarter. There was a few in that quarter, went from his spot as a linebacker and met the running back in the backfield. He covered more distance than the running back by far. Love that play. Question I have is, how high do you see his ceiling? Also, if Walker, Cooper, and Hopper are your starters in the 4-3, where do you see them fitting best together? Now, let's see here. I think that Hopper, yes, has that ability to be explosive. When we were watching his film coming out of college, he played downhill fast. Yeah, I mean, that dude was flying all over the field. I think that I'm excited because we've actually seen him on the field, right? We haven't seen Edgerrin Cooper come on the field. So I just think that being able to see that kind of explosiveness out there will really help him versus what we haven't seen anything from Edgerrin. So I hope that we can get that same sort of jump from him. And I think if we had, let's see, Walker, Cooper, and Hopper are your starters, I think that it's got to be Walker as Quay as your Mike. I would almost say I think Cooper as your Will, Hopper as your Sam. But let me see what the chat is thinking here because, oh boy, oh man, yeah, Cody, that's pretty much it. Said Emilio, just picture Jacob in a Gandalf hat giggling at you, not joining tonight. So yeah, I like that. Let's see, Ben Holden going back here said Willis looks like he could run with the number ones. I like that take, Ben. If we have a backup that can run with the ones, and we can get a guy that can get a couple wins for us if Jordan Love, goes down or anything like that. I absolutely love that. Let's see. John Smith said, I think it depends on running back health and some special teams decisions. You only get so many call-ups per. You hate to waste it on someone that won't play. That's very true, but I think that you have to bring Clifford up just because you won't have a backup. And I think that with that new rule for the third quarterback, they do need to be on the active game day for them to pull him up for that third emergency. So I think that I almost think you have to pull up Clifford and use up one of them right away and then kind of go from there. Coach Lynn says Malik Willis is better than Justin Fields to me. Definitely, Coach. And he's a better passer, can read the field better in the pocket, obviously. And Russell got named the starter. What are they putting in for Fields? It's going to be those kind of trick plays, bring him in as a quarterback, running back, wildcat sort of thing. I'm happy we got Malik out of that deal. That's the truth. Let's see. Roger Davis says tough position for Clifford. Train up Willis so he can take your spot. Part of the biz. That's it, man. I mean, hopefully that Clifford balls out, shows out, and can teach Malik enough that Malik is going to be a perfect backup for us. And then hopefully Clifford goes and, gets his, right? Gets a chance to be a starter, gets a chance to be, a second string somewhere else if Malik works out. If not, we've got Clifford here for his coming on his second year. Might as well keep moving forward with the guy that's learned the offense. Let's see. Ron talking about Hafley stuff. Looks like Eagles are using a lot more motion, new offense with the new running back. I think we might get into that a little bit later. Prince, you're talking my language, man. Walker, Cooper, Hopper together would be scary fast. And like Lombardi always says, the speed of your defense is set from your linebacking core, right? So that's where we got to go. I think that's where we're heading. We'll make do with McDuffie and Wilson right now, and then we'll move forward with the fellas we picked up.
All right, so appreciate you, Emilio. Thank you so much, man. So Dave Coleman was asking about the backers, right? And let's see, is also if Walker, Cooper, and Hopper are your starters in the 4-3, where do you see them fitting best together? I'm sure you gave your take, right, Emilio?
Yeah, I said Walker's got to be middle right, and then I think Hopper would be the Sam, right, and Cooper would be Will. Or are we flipping those two?
I know United Bates agreed with you. Thank you for the super chat. So he said A+, Emilio. For me, think about what these guys do best, and then we get the cheat sheet here too for the Robert Saleh / Pete Carroll style.
That's what
defense.
I needed was a cheat sheet.
So here we go. All right, I'm going to use it. You're not allowed to. That's the way that works. It says more specifically, the positional breakdowns follow these guidelines. Okay, so this is Robert Saleh, Pete Carroll defense. The old cover 3 buzz. Of course, it's evolved tremendously. It's not just cover 3 anymore. It's farthest thing from it. But Mike linebacker, middle linebacker, captain of the unit, and gap destroyer against the run. Key read defender, both pre-snap and at the heart of zone coverages. Okay, the Sam backer, strong side linebacker that usually matches up with the tight end in the passing game or the deep hook zone. Assigned gap defender against the run that may also blitz on occasion. And then Will is the most athletic player in this group, is generally the weak side linebacker known for his elite open field tackling on cutbacks and his zone coverage ability in the flats. So I hate to be the negative Nancy, but listen, if you see it, you got to say it. I don't think Tyron Hopper fits any of these. I really don't. But he's a third-round pick, and many people said that he was drafted way higher than he should have been. Now, who the hell are we to say that? We being everyone other than NFL general managers. If there's one general manager, obviously Goot, who's seen him as a third-round pick, then he's worthy of a third-round pick. That's the way I see that.
Right.
But he really doesn't fit any of these molds. And when you talk Mike, to me, Mike here, Edgerrin Cooper seems like the better fit. However, Quay Walker with the experience is going to wear the green dot, and he's going to play Mike. But
U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
Quay Walker's strength last year was pass coverage. So it makes sense he would be the mock, especially seeing that we're going to be in the nickel 4-2-5. So if we were to just break it down in the only 3 linebackers that are on the team, which is kind of how the question was structured, if the only 3 linebackers on the team are Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, and Tyron Hopper, then I want Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker as my starting linebackers in the nickel 4-2-5. And I would want Quay Walker playing Mike, and I would want Edgerrin Cooper playing Will. Like I said, Tyron Hopper doesn't really fit any of those. In a 4-3, in a base 4-3, if you were going to have to put him out there, I would rather him be the Will backer than the Sam. So I would probably put Edgerrin Cooper on the Sam's in the Sam spot, or maybe even put since you're talking gap destroyer, even though Quay Walker would be wearing the green dot, maybe you put Tyron Hopper at Mike and let Quay try to cover the tight end on occasion, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got that gap destroyer, because that's the one thing I noticed about Tyron Hopper in preseason was that dude he was attacking the run game very aggressively, right?
Absolutely.
So, Ron Sample says might put Hopper as the Mike. There you go, Cooper as the Sam. Makes a lot of sense, man. Really does.
And I think along with that, I was listening. It was I think it was the Athletic Pod or something. They were talking, and the dude was honestly a little rough on Cooper, saying, I don't even know how he's going to transfer as a linebacker just because he was sort of like that apex defender in A&M's defense. So how is he actually going to, is he like a star role, or can he actually play, off-ball linebacker? I think he can. I was just wondering what your take was on him not being able to make that.
On who again?
It was Cooper. The guy was saying that he doesn't know if he'd be able to transfer as like an off ball because he played so much Apex, sort of like flying around kind of on A&M.
When you watch his tape, there's nothing there that suggests he can't make that transition.
And that's what I was thinking, right? But
so, yeah, I mean, if you're going based off of what he did in college, I can kind of see their point of pointing that out. But, yeah, I think he'll be fine, man. I mean, that start-stop shoot that he's got, if that translates to the NFL, we're in great shape. Because that dude, what I mean by start-stop shoot, he's so good at as soon as the ball's snapped, he starts, he gets into position. You'll see like a step and a half in the right spot, get in the gap, get leverage, right, without making contact. He stops, reads the play, shoots his shot, no hesitation. Right. It's really phenomenal. So let's see here. Drew D in the chat said Hopper ran a 4.68 at his pro day. He's probably a natural will at 231 pounds. I'm leaning toward him being the will in a 4.3, but I could see the argument for the mock. I definitely wouldn't want him at the Sam, right? Because if you do have to cover, isn't it amazing that we heard all offseason people talking about the Sam backer? That's that hybrid rusher. Bro, you were stuck in 1993. Sams are not hybrid rushers anymore. They have got to be prepared to cover. They were hybrid rushers and lining up on the strong side of the formation back when you had Mark Chamora at tight end, and you know what I'm saying, like these big boy tight ends that were kind of blocked first, and they would attack the seam if the defense would allow it. So, it's an interesting question that Murph posed there. I think it was Murph. Was it Murph that asked that? I believe.
I think it was Dave.
Okay, that's right. It was. Yeah, okay. And we had a couple other questions here. Let me go to Patreon real quick. I think I've actually got it ready to go here. Let me drop this down because Murph rattled off a few questions. And I wanted to lean on these because I love how the Patreon community is getting really, really involved with everything. Murph rattled off a bunch. Let's just hit them one by one here. He says, God forbid it, but if Jordan goes down, do you see Clifford practice squad being the first option or Willis the backup? Right now, I'd have to say Clifford. That's where my mark's at because he knows the offense. Do you agree with that?
Okay. Yeah. I think that you could throw in a basic enough plan to make Malik work if you really had to. I think you could, really vanilla it, but I would rather have Clifford out there playing with the ones, not with twos, threes, backups, practice squads. He'd be playing with the ones. I would rather go with the big red dog.
Yeah. Definitely. I agree with that. Now, as Willis learns the offense, I think Willis has a ton more talent than Sean Clifford, obviously.
Right.
That talent don't mean anything, man. You can have Uncle Rico throwing a football over that mountain right there, but if you don't know the offense, it doesn't matter.
It was like they were talking about Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. It was like Sean Payton wanted to be able to give the dude the offense, make the calls, move forward. Russell Wilson wanted a wristband. Like you're not going to be able to get that across talking, one dude's talking technology, the other dude's talking call sheets, play sheets. It's never going to work.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see QB room. So Murph's next question was how confident realistically, I love how he said that because he knows we get off the damn rails quick. How confident realistically are you in the team? What do you think our record will be after 4 games? What is our strongest unit on the team? And that's some deep questions there. I'd have to look at the schedule to say what our record was. It seems like I was somewhere around 3-1, or maybe even I might have even been at 4-0. It felt like we could get off to a strong start. Philly's going to be tough. Here we go. Thank you, Amelia. You can get you a pro, man. So we're going at Philly, but it's in Brazil, obviously. Then we got the Colts at home. We at the Titans, and then we got the Minnesota Vikings at home. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy out there going with Sam Darnold. So
I want to say 3-1. I think it's almost got to be.
What do you think the loss is going to be there? Is it Philly?
No, I'm pretty sure I picked the Vikings to beat us the first game.
Gotcha.
Because I think we could sweep the first 3. We get a little too high. We go into our first divisional opponent. We might take an L there.
I could see it. I think. To me, the 2 games that you have the best chance of losing are people are like, what? I thought this was a Packer show. Why are we talking about the best chances to lose? Just being realistic like Murph made us do here, okay? Philly, I think Philly will, they're going to come back. They got a little bit better at running back, obviously, with Saquon Barkley, if he's healthy. We're going to talk a little bit of that if we have time here. You got Saquon Barkley. Obviously, you got Jalen Hurts, who played awesome up till, the second half of the season last year. Seems like they really tapered off there towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
You bring in
A.J. Brown, you got Smith at wide receiver.
Yeah, they've got players everywhere. They really do. And they brung in Vic Fangio as their new defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. I think that's really going to help too. So they're probably going to play more fundamentally sound from a top-down kind of approach. And, hey, look, let's keep everything in front of us type thing. So you got to play patient. So I could see Philly potentially being a problem. But the Colts, with Anthony Richardson, if he does start, I heard something about Joe Flacco maybe starting. I didn't even know he played for the Colts. But there with the Colts, I don't know, man. Anthony Richardson, I could kind of see us – with this aggressive defense, Anthony Richardson maybe getting loose a couple times too.
Getting loose running the ball, you're saying, right?
Correct.
Okay, I was going to say my hang-up is he threw like 30 passes all preseason. The dude did not throw the rock at all. So that's why I was a little more confident in the Colts. But maybe it's like, all right, Hafley, we're prepping for an RPO team, then we're prepping for an option team, then we're prepping for potentially pass heavy team. I don't know, with the Titans, and then the Vikings is going to be familiar territory. That'll be tough. But
I feel comfortable saying 3-1. That's probably what I would predict to answer Murph's question. So we're both at 3-1 in that regard. That answers that question. He said, "Who will have the better year behind Jacobs, Lloyd or Wilson?" That's a great question. If they're both healthy, my vote would be Lloyd. Because he showed a lot of talent at USC. Mm-hmm. But seeing how Lloyd's already dealing with the hammy, it might be Wilson. And I think Emmanuel Wilson, if he gets the opportunity to really settle in the passing game and he can kind of expound on that part of his game, I think Wilson could have a big year too. When I say big year, I'm not talking about 1,000 yards rushing, obviously. I'm talking about, somewhere around 4.1 yards to carry. I could see him doing that, Emilio.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, if they're not hurt, I think actually it could be Wilson. My thing is I think Jacobs picked up another 50 touches easy with A.J. Dillon not being, 50 to 100 touches easy with A.J. Dillon not being on the team anymore. I think that with Lloyd being hurt for so long, he still doesn't quite know the offense. I know we can give him an outside zone run sort of thing, but if we want to do any sort of motion on three, swings, all these choice routes in the backfield type stuff, I would rather have Wilson in there. I think he actually might have a better season.
Got it. Cheesehead Murph also asked, do you see some of our coaching staff getting poached after this season? Yes, I do. Jason Vrabel's the one I worry about, Emilio. He's got this wide receiver room just absolutely cranking, right? One of the cheapest in the league. And it's just like you've got I said it going into the offseason. It feels like you got a bunch of number twos, and that's a good place to be, right? You got a bunch of number two receivers. I don't think anyone has proven to be like a true number one yet in the NFL. When I say number one, I mean someone that you would put him on any other offense in the league and go, that's your best receiver there, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think we quite have that yet. We'll see who develops into it. I personally think it's going to be either going to be Jaden Reed or Dontavion Wicks. That's just me personally. I think those two guys are set to really take a huge leap. But for me, it's Jason Vrabel. I think that he's got an opportunity to potentially be an offensive coordinator. I really do. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think I would go on offense too, but I think it might be Steno. My thing is with that wide receiver crew, Matt is cooking up the offense. Jordan Love's dishing it out. Goody picked them all, right? So when you pull that just one wide receiver coach, all right, he's going to be our OC. It's like, dude had one game where he was able to call it in the preseason this past year. That's his play calling, in-game experience. Then what are we going to do, with it moving forward? I think it's kind of tough yanking one dude and expecting him to turn around the whole offense just because he had a good wide receiver crew. I think that we've been lucky with how we've been drafting in the channel that we were able to pick up to make that happen. But popping back, we missed one of Murph's at the end of the other one there. He said, what about the strongest unit on the team?
Ooh, yeah, that's right. We skipped over it. Strongest unit on the team. When you say unit, it immediately makes you think of multiple players, right? But I think you got to look at the position rooms too. And I'm telling you, man, Jordan Love, like if he picks up where he left off last year, and listen, there's a chance he doesn't, and he takes a slight step back, and is still a top 10 quarterback. If he picks up where he left off, might have the best quarterback in the league. Like, it was that good coming down the stretch. So the quarterback, the starting quarterback, phenomenal. Now the backups, we don't know what Malik Willis is going to be, so it's hard to pick them as a unit.
Right.
I'd say if I had to pick one, it's mainly because of Jeff Hafley bursting onto the scene here. I'd probably say DBs. Xavier McKinney, Javon Bullard, I think is going to be a phenomenal player. You've got Jair Alexander, who's hungry once again. You got Eric Stokes, who's looked really good in camp. I think he's been rejuvenated with Coach Hafley helping him. Also, you got Derek Ansley helping coach him up, former DC. Now he's the passing game coordinator, defensive backs coach. If I had to pick anything other than quarterback, strictly because of Jordan Love, I'd probably say cornerbacks, man. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, too old for this says here the strongest unit would have to be wide receiver. We had to cut guys who would be 3 to 4 elsewhere. I think that's a good point. Definitely. I think my decision, was going to be right here with Cody. Defensive end. I think our D line general. Oh, there we go. Dead fish. Our D line in general, I think would have to be the unit. We've got Kenny Clark, a stud, who doesn't get talked about. He's never talked about a blue chip or red chip ever. He doesn't get mentioned. Rashawn Gary barely gets a red chip mention. They don't even want him on the blue chips. I think that Preston Smith is a solid dude that's been around the league, knows what he's doing. We got a first-round pick in LVN, and then, three other dudes that are making moves. So I think I'd have to go with the D-line, which is crazy because I like the offense, right? But we just don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty solid when you think about it. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Kenny Clark.
Wyatt, Carl Brooks.
Yeah, that's
it's not going to be, it's not going to be the big media names, you know what I mean? But like our solid line looking, deep looking in, I think it's got to be that.
It's pretty cool. We rattle off 4 position groups, and it's hard to look at any of them and go, no, I disagree with that.
Yeah.
So,
see how we conveniently avoided offensive line right now? And
yes, we did. Sir.
Yeah.
And watch them come out and be the best. That would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Avoided offensive line, avoided linebackers.
Definitely. Cheesehead Murph also said, as pass catchers, why do a lot of them body catch if they use the jug machine to practice, which requires them to use their hands? I am not the person. I'm not the person to ask this to, Murph, because I don't have a problem with the body catch. Like, I grew up watching Jerry Rice, and that dude body caught more than anybody. How many times he came across the middle, jumped up and caught it, against his body, or going deep against his body, right, rather than snatching it out of the air. But I don't know, man. I think it's more about the specific situation. If you're in the open field and catching the ball, you maybe snatch it with your hands. If you're running a deep curl, maybe they're taught in that specific situation. Murph, the defender bearing down on them from the back, catch it away from your body, then bring it in rather than waiting for it because you can get it just a split second earlier. Maybe it's more situational. Maybe key in on that this year and say, okay, when you see a body catch, make a note. Okay, there's a body catch. I think Jacob's doing body catching right now over at Brookview Meadows, but that's a story for a different day. When they do a body catch, think of where the defender is, what kind of defense they're in, what's the situation. Does that make sense, Emilio?
Yeah. No, I could see that because you're running a deep fade. It's coming, over the top, sort of a lob pass type, and drops in there. You're gonna close it in against your body, no problem. I think the issue on body catches is when it's a dart, when it's like a quick slant, and he is rifling that thing in there. And you're catching it into your chest. That thing is, it hurts. You know what I'm saying? Like if that thing drills you in the chest. If the pads weren't there, that thing's going to hurt, right? So I think that's where it kind of catches up to you, where you're catching those quick slant rockets. But
absolutely. All right, Murph, thank you so much for the question. Everybody else in the Patreon group, really appreciate y'all. That was a lot of fun. I know we've got members in here now. With the channel being remonetized, we've also got our Patreon group that we just mentioned. If you guys want to join it, you can scan the QR code in the upper right, or you can just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access, or just go to patreon.com and search Packer Fan Total Access. You'll see us there. And we got some really cool chats set up, chalk talk, stuff like that. People are asking questions about specific routes, things like that. We're talking route combinations, everything that has to do with the X's and O's of football. And the cool thing about that chat, if there's an answer I don't have, we're going to find it, and everything will be posted in there. When we do chalk talks this year, my goal is to put all of that material that I use in my notes in that segment as well. So it's kind of what Patreon's becoming is kind of a companion app for the show, which is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you're more comfortable supporting the show as a YouTube member of a Super Chats, that's awesome too. But
right.
I appreciate everybody in the Patreon group. So kicker talk, obviously it's dominated the offseason here. We're going to hit it really, really quick, Emilio. I put a poll question up earlier today, and let's see, let me refresh it real quick and see what the numbers are up to. So we had 615 votes, pretty good sample size. Poll question for the show: how do you feel about the Packers choosing Braden Narvison as their kicker over Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph? 3 choices, and they were specifically chosen for this reason. I wanted people to have to make a decision rather than go, we'll see.
Yeah.
And the people in the chat, they cracked me up in the comments like, I don't know, we'll have to see. Okay, well, thanks for playing along. I appreciate it. That really gave me It's how do you think the Packers will do this year? We'll just see. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Like,
appreciate it.
Yeah. So I put great move, no real improvement, or a bad move. Great move, leading the way, 65%.
65%.
It's 2% more than 65%, 67. 28.6% said no real improvement, which, by the way, I can understand that. I can see how people would look at it that way. It's not like Narvison.
It's a push.
Yeah, it's not like he absolutely crushed it in college, right? Very similar in statistics, if I remember correctly, at the college game. And then bad move got 4.4%. So obviously Packers fans here, Emilio, they seem pretty optimistic about the kicker change, man.
Mm-hmm. I think we kind of have to be, right? Where at this point that's our decision, and we got to move forward with it. But I think it could definitely be a push. If it works out, we'll figure out his contract later on, this and that. But all they got to do, like Matt said, come in, kick the ball. I'm not worried about it. Just come in and kick it, put it through the uprights. So I think that's where they want it to be, right? You want it to be almost automatic. We're not worrying about it sort of thing. It's finding that person that's going to fill that role for the team. And I think that's why Goody made the jump is he thinks, the window's open. We are close. We need to make a decision quickly on it, on what's going to benefit the team the most.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving along. Jeff Hafley had his presser today, and let me tell you, it was a doozy. I really feel like Jeff Hafley, he answers questions honestly, and I really appreciate that. There you go. Smitty said it. Hafley's interview was absolute fire. You're on it tonight, Emilio. Appreciate you.
Respect Oranges. Hafley has great coaching energy. You're about to hear it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got 3 answers to 3 different questions, all right, that we're going to play here. I apologize if the volume's down. You can see I've got it cranked to the gills here. Hopefully you can hear the answer. If not, turn the volume up as much as you can. But I tweeted out, Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley was asked how you prepare to face an offense in Philly who has a new offensive coordinator, all right, because obviously they changed defensive coordinators. I think they changed offensive coordinators as well. Here was Coach Hafley's answer.
Figuring out your guys on defense, but what's the challenge trying to figure out what they want to do?
Oh, you're anytime you go into a season and there's a change at coordinator, you find yourself watching a lot of different film, right? You're watching Eagles personnel, you're watching the Chargers, you're watching things that he might have done in the past and other places that he's been, but then you got to look at the staff and you see a variety of different coaches that have been there for a long time, some involved with the run game, some in the pass game. So you have a lot to look at. You don't want to find yourself week one looking at too much and you're starting to see ghosts and things that, aren't really what they're going to do because it's week one and who knows how much they've changed, how much they're going to rely on what they've done in the past, how much he's going to change with the players that he has, right? Because a lot of guys have to adapt to the players that they have on the current roster. So ultimately, week one, you got to do what you do best. You got to play sound with good fundamentals, good technique. You got to play hard. You got to tackle. You got to get off blocks. You got to make plays on the football. But it's always a challenge early in the season because you don't have a lot of data. That needs to build up as you get going. So for now, there's a lot of guys watching a lot of different things.
I love it, man. And I love when they take you inside the whole game planning side of things with coaching in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the stuff that I geek out over. Like what he's talking about is typically when you're playing a team, and it's a returning coaching staff, you've got tape. You can go look at what they did well, right? And he talked about you can see their personnel. Obviously, you know what their personnel is going to be. You know, you could study those players. You could go back to the New York Giants and study Saquon Barkley, but you don't know how the Philadelphia Eagles are going to use Saquon Barkley now that he's in Philly.
Right.
The other thing he said, you don't want to see any ghosts. What he means by that, that's a football term, and I absolutely love it. You know, Mike Holmgren, first time I ever heard it, Mike Holmgren said it to Brett Favre, don't see any ghosts out there. Here's what he's talking about. When you spend all week game planning for a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on offense from Brett and Mike Holmgren's perspective for a second. You say, okay, here's how we're going to attack their defense. This is what they're doing. The last 4 game saturation that we've watched the tape, our last 2 head-to-heads, this is what they're doing. Here's how we're going to attack them. And all week long, you prepare for that. You prepare for that. You prepare for that. And then it comes game day, and they show you a different look, not necessarily a different defense, but a different pre-snap look. And you deviate from the game plan. Like, for instance, they may be showing a too-high shell and play a lot of cover 2 drop zone, right? Which means you can attack the bunkers and you can attack the base. You can hit the whole shot or you can hit the seam, okay? So if that's the game plan and then you come out on game day and the tape isn't matching with what they're showing you a single high look.
Right.
It's easy to go, okay, well, all right, they're probably in cover 3 or cover 1 man. So now you're immediately changing the play at the line of scrimmage. You snap the ball, they post-snap shift back into their cover 2 zone, and you just played right into their hands. You've seen a ghost. You've seen something that wasn't there, right?
You took away all the bunker shots. You took away everything just to be cover 3 or cover 1, and you blew it. You put crossers everywhere, and everyone's just sitting in their zones, and it's over. You know, then like you said, seeing ghosts.
Yep. And when you're facing a team like Philly, now let's flip it back around to the defensive side of the ball. You don't know what their offensive coordinator is going to do.
Right. Kellen Moore, right?
Right. Kellen Moore, correct.
Yep, new there, brand new.
And you can go back and watch him play in Dallas, but the reality is, and I'm not saying one's better than the other, although I will say it, I think Dak is better than Jalen Hurts. That's just me. I think Dak was arguably the best quarterback in football last year for most of, if not all of the season, until he hit the buzzsaw that was Joe Barry. I'll just leave it at that. Well, anyway, never going to hear buzzsaw and Joe Barry in the same sentence ever
again.
But so he's going to come in and prep for Kellen Moore. Okay, would you go back and watch the Dallas tape? You can't do that. Well, actually, he wasn't even with Dallas last year. It was the year before. Last year, he was with the Chargers.
Right?
Yeah. So do you go back and watch the Chargers tape with Kellen Moore?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or do you key in on Philly, what they did last year? Oh, well, they got a new running back.
Yep.
Okay, do you watch
the coaches that are still there, pulling different things from their still offensive game, offensive pass game coordinators, things like that. How are you going to connect all of the dots?
Absolutely. So what Hafley's saying is you just got to go out there and play fundamental football. Do what you do, right? Let's go out there and just do what we do as a defense. And as time goes on, he actually said that you start to compile that information. Now you've got data. What your team's doing well. Because you scout other teams, you also do what they call self-scouting. All right, what are we doing well? Let's lean into that a bit. Does it match up with the game plan we need to create this week? So
need to get to the first quarter of the season for that. Let's get through our first 4 games, and we have a little bit of data on everybody.
Bingo, exactly. And for those of you listening on the pod, we will see you guys on the other side for hour 2. Appreciate y'all.